On May 27, 1941, the German battleship Bismarck rolled onto her side in the North Atlantic, taking 2,100 sailors with her into water cold enough to kill in minutes. Depth charges had split the hull open, thick black fuel oil spread across the surface, and caught fire, turning the sea itself into a burning slick. Drifting through the wreckage, balanced on a single wooden board, was a black and white cat. He was soaking wet, terrified, and completely alive. The crew of the British destroyer Cossack spotted him among the debris of the enemy flagship, pulled him from the water, wrapped him in a blanket, and named him Oscar, after the international signal flag meaning man overboard. A clinical name for a cat, an unusual beginning for what became a naval legend. Oscar, later known as Unsinkable Sam, would survive 2 more sinkings before the year ended. In October, a German torpedo tore the Cossack apart, killing 159 men. Sam lived. He was transferred to the aircraft carrier Sark Royal. In November, another torpedo, another sinking. Rescue teams found him clinging to a floating plank, soaked, furious, and completely unharmed. 3 warships sank beneath him. Thousands of men drowned around him. A single house cat walked away from all of it. He is only number 5 on this list. During the Second World War, animals did not simply witness the fighting, they altered its outcome. In 1943, a woman named Maria Dickin created the Dickin Medal, the animal equivalent of the Victoria Cross, because of what these creatures accomplished, demanded its own recognition of valor. Oscar was not an anomaly. He was representative of something far larger. By 1941, every branch of every Allied military was deploying animals, not as mascots, but as weapons, logisticians, and frontline operators. These are the 5 most remarkable. The war overwhelmed the technology that was supposed to win it. In the mountains of southern Italy, field radios crackled, hissed, and died. In the jungles of Burma and the Philippines, humidity rotted the wiring inside signal equipment before it could be unpacked. A platoon commander in Sicily could be 15 miles from his command post and entirely cut off from orders, not because the enemy jammed his frequency, but because a cloud passed over a ridge. The most advanced military alliance in history was fighting a global war with communications gear that failed the moment terrain became difficult. A pigeon did not fail. A pigeon flew at 60 miles per hour, in rain, over mountains, through anti-aircraft fire. It required no batteries and no line of sight. It simply flew. In 1943, that made a pigeon more reliable than a radio. The problem extended well beyond communication. The war was everywhere. The British alone were fighting in the North Atlantic, North Africa, Burma, Italy, and defending their own cities from nightly bombing raids. Manpower was not merely stretched, it was rationed. Dogs cleared minefields because sappers were dying faster than they could be trained. Mules carried artillery up mountain passes because no truck could climb them. Horses hauled supply wagons through mud that swallowed jeeps whole. Animals filled gaps that human bodies physically could not. There was also the invisible wound, the one nobody discussed. Industrial-scale killing broke minds in ways no previous war had. Soldiers had no therapists, no counselors, no term for what was happening to them. What they had was a cat in the engine room, a dog sleeping at the foot of a foxhole, a bear, a literal bear, wrestling with them behind the artillery lines. The presence of a living thing that was not trying to kill you became the only available therapy, not officially, not by design, by instinct. This was the world Unsinkable Sam moved through. After the Bismarck, after the Cossack's crew fished him from the Atlantic, Sam became a ship's cat, a ratter, a warm body on cold steel. On October 27, 1941, the German submarine U-563 put a torpedo into the Cossack's hull. The explosion killed 159 men. Sam survived. He was transferred to the aircraft carrier Sark Royal. 18 days later, U-81 sank her as well. Rescue crews found Sam clinging to his plank, drenched in oil and seawater, described in the official report as angry, but quite unharmed. 3 ships, 3 sinkings, 1 cat. His name, Oscar, came from the signal flag meaning man overboard. A small, dark joke by sailors who understood what drowning looked like. What sharpens the story beyond miracle is this. Some naval historians have noted that no formal German records confirm a cat aboard the Bismarck. Photographs attributed to Sam show two different cats. One a tuxedo, one a tabby. It is possible that unsinkable Sam was not one cat at all, but a legend assembled from several. A sea story passed between ships, growing with each retelling. A composite survivor for a fleet that needed one. Whether that diminishes the story is debatable. The more likely truth is that sailors who watched their shipmates drown needed to believe something, anything, could pass through this war untouched. Sam provided that. Real or assembled, he carried a weight no cat should have had to bear. He was retired after the Ark Royal and sent to a sailor's home in Belfast, where he lived quietly, unbothered, and presumably dry until 1955. Sam survived the war by enduring it. The next animal on this list survived by attacking it. Chips was a family dog. A husky collie German shepherd mix from New York, donated to the army by a family who thought he would make a good sentry. He was trained to guard perimeters, sniff the air, and bark at movement. He was not trained to fight. He was not trained to kill. He was trained to stand still and pay attention. Nobody told him that. July 1943, Operation Husky, the Allied invasion of Sicily. Chips's unit hit the beach in darkness, and within minutes they were pinned. A concealed Italian machine gun pillbox had the entire platoon flattened in the sand. The gun crew had perfect sight lines. Every time a soldier raised his head, the air above him turned to metal. No one could move forward. No one could move at all. Chips broke free. His handler did not release him, did not give a command. The dog tore loose from his lead and sprinted directly at the muzzle flash, at full speed, across open ground, into the mouth of the gun. What happened inside that pillbox took seconds. Chips seized one Italian soldier by the throat and threw the position into chaos. 4 men, trained, armed, fortified behind concrete and sandbags, surrendered to a dog. Chips emerged bleeding from his scalp. Powder burns across his muzzle. A strip of the nest's camouflage netting tangled around his body. His charge broke the platoon free. The advance resumed. That same night, Chips helped capture 10 more Italian prisoners of war. The army awarded him the Silver Star and the Purple Heart. The War Department then revoked both, ruling that military decorations could not be given to animals. The bureaucracy could not process what had happened. A dog had performed an act that would have earned any soldier the highest available recognition, and the regulations said he did not qualify. There is a footnote worth noting. During an inspection shortly after Sicily, Chips reportedly bit General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the supreme Allied commander of the European theater, the man who would plan D-Day. Eisenhower allegedly looked at the handler and said, "One tough son of a bitch." Whether apocryphal or not, it is telling. The most powerful general in the war met the dog, and the dog bit him, and Eisenhower respected it. Chips returned home after the war, back to his family in New York. He died quietly in 1946, likely from complications of his combat wounds. A sentry dog who became a one-animal assault force because the moment demanded it, and no one told him he could not. If Chips represents the paradox of aggression, a gentle dog who stormed a fortified position, then the next entry represents a paradox of scale. Smokey weighed 4 pounds. She stood 7 inches tall. She was a Yorkshire Terrier, a breed designed to sit on laps and look expensive. In 1944, she saved an entire airfield. She was found in a foxhole in the New Guinea jungle, abandoned. No tags, no unit, no owner. Likely the pet of a Japanese soldier who had left her behind. Corporal Bill Wynn bought her from another GI for $6 and change. She fit inside his helmet. Months later, on the island of Luzon in the Philippines, the U.S. Signal Corps faced a problem no human could solve. They needed to run a telegraph wire beneath an active taxiway at Lingayen Gulf Airfield. The only route was a drainage pipe, 70 feet long, 8 inches in diameter, packed with dirt and debris. No soldier could fit inside it. No machine could thread it. And if they could not lay that wire, 250 ground crew and 40 fighter-bomber aircraft would be exposed to Japanese air raids for 3 full days, while engineers dug trenches across the runway by hand. 3 days. Defenseless. Wynne tied a length of kite string to Smokey's collar, placed her at one end of the pipe, walked to the other, and called her name. Smokey disappeared into 70 feet of pitch-black, mud-clogged pipe she had never encountered before. She could not turn around. She could not see. She heard his voice and kept crawling. She emerged from the other side in minutes. The string pulled the wire. The wire saved the airfield. Smokey was not finished. When Wynne was hospitalized with dengue fever, she accompanied him. Nurses began taking her on rounds, bed to bed, ward to ward, laying her next to soldiers with missing limbs, shattered spines, and burns. Men who had not spoken in days would reach down and touch her. She became, without anyone intending it, the world's first therapy dog, decades before anyone coined the term, decades before any hospital program existed. A 4-pound dog saved an airfield. The next animal saved an army, and he weighed 500 pounds. They found him at a train station in Iran, 1943. The soldiers of the Polish 22nd Artillery Supply Company had already survived things that resist simple description. Soviet gulags, forced marches, a 10,000-mile journey through Iran and Iraq that left half their regiment in unmarked graves. These were men abandoned by history, fighting their way back into it one borrowed truck at a time. At a rail stop in Hamadan, a boy was holding a starving Syrian brown bear cub in a burlap sack. They traded a Swiss Army knife for him and named him Wojtek, the Polish diminutive for happy warrior. He fit in a soldier's arms. He would not fit for long. Wojtek grew into a 500-pound brown bear who lived, completely and absurdly, as a Polish soldier. He drank beer, not laps from a bowl, but full bottles tilted back between his paws, drained the way a man drains a beer after a 12-hour shift. He ate cigarettes, not smoked, ate, chewed them, swallowed them, and looked for more. He wrestled with the men, not gently, full contact and rolling in the dirt. The soldiers loved it, because losing a grappling match to a bear was the funniest thing that had happened to any of them in years. He slept in their tents, rode in their trucks, and learned to salute, raising one paw when an officer passed. There is a frequently repeated account that Wojtek once caught a spy, or at least an intruder, looking into the camp showers. The details vary with each telling. The conclusion does not. The intruder saw a bear and stopped being a problem. The absurdity then became something else entirely. The Polish II Corps was ordered to Italy. Getting there required British transport ships. British transport ships did not allow animals, so the 22nd Artillery Supply Company did what they considered the only logical thing available. They enlisted the bear. Officially, formally, with paperwork. Wojtek was given the rank of private. He had a serial number, a paybook, and drew a soldier's ration. A 500-pound Syrian brown bear was, on paper, a legal member of the Polish army. Then, they sent him to Monte Cassino. Monte Cassino was a fortress, a medieval monastery perched on a mountain that controlled the road to Rome, defended by some of the best German troops in the war. The Allies had attempted 3 times to take it. 3 assaults, 3 failures, thousands dead. The slopes were so thick with bodies that fresh units had to climb over the men who had gone before them. The 4th assault, the final one, was assigned to the Polish II Corps. The assignment no one else wanted. The one with the highest probability of annihilation. Wojtek carried ammunition. 100-pound crates of 25-pounder artillery shells passed from supply trucks to gun positions across broken ground through smoke so thick a soldier could not see his own hands. Each crate weighed as much as a grown man's torso. Wojtek carried them the way a person carries a bag of groceries. He did this for 20 consecutive hours. He never stopped. He never dropped a crate. The guns kept firing because the bear kept carrying. The monastery fell. The road to Rome opened. The 22nd Artillery Supply Company changed its official insignia to a bear carrying an artillery shell. Not as a joke, as a record. Proof that it happened. That a bear helped break one of the most fortified positions in the European theater. Wojtek was more than a beast of burden. He was the most contented soldier in a homeless army. The Polish, the Second Corps, were exiles, men fighting for a country that had been carved up by the very allies they were dying beside. Poland no longer existed on the map. Their homes were occupied. Their families were scattered or dead. Wojtek knew none of that. He only knew the men who fed him. For soldiers who had lost everything, a bear who wrestled with them and stole their beer was the closest thing to home they had left. After the war, Wojtek was transferred to Edinburgh Zoo. The soldiers could not keep him. He lived there for the rest of his life, watched by tourists who did not know what they were looking at. The veterans knew. Polish soldiers visited him for years, and the keepers reported something that is difficult to hear without pausing. Whenever Wojtek heard Polish being spoken, he stood on his hind legs and walked to the edge of his enclosure, listening for voices he recognized. Every account so far has featured a survivor, a cat who floated, a dog who charged, a terrier who crawled, a bear who carried. They all came home. The next one did not. In December 1941, the Japanese Imperial Army was advancing through Southeast Asia. Hong Kong was defended by a thin line of Canadian and British soldiers, many of them teenagers, many on their first deployment. They knew they could not hold the island. They were not fighting to win. They were fighting to buy hours. Among them was a massive black Newfoundland dog named Gander, originally called Pal. He had been donated to the Royal Rifles of Canada after accidentally scratching a child's face. His family decided a military base would be safer for him. 130 pounds, jet black, invisible in the dark. During night raids, Japanese soldiers reported a black beast erupting from the Canadian lines, a shape with no outline that snarled and snapped at legs before vanishing back into the smoke. He was not trained for it. He simply did it, over and over, because his men were behind him. On the night of December 19th, 1941, a Japanese grenade landed among 7 wounded Canadians who could not move. Gander saw it. The grenade hit the dirt between the wounded men and spun. 7 soldiers of the Royal Rifles lay in a shallow gully, broken, bleeding, unable to stand. They could not run. They could not crawl. They could only watch. Gander had already charged the Japanese lines twice that night. Twice he had erupted from the darkness. 130 pounds of black fur and bared teeth, driving attackers back from the perimeter. He was bleeding. He was exhausted. He had no obligation to do anything more. He did not hesitate. He crossed the ground in 3 strides, lowered his head, and picked the grenade up in his mouth. Then he turned, not toward safety, not toward the Canadian lines, but the other way, toward the enemy, toward the blast. The grenade detonated. Gander was killed instantly. All 7 soldiers survived. There is no adequate framework for explaining what happened in that gully using the language we normally apply to animals. We say dogs are loyal. We say they are brave. Those are human words carrying human assumptions. That courage is a choice made against fear. That sacrifice requires understanding what is being given up. Gander did not write a letter home. He did not know what a grenade was. He knew his people were on the ground. He knew something was wrong. And he did the only thing his body knew how to do. He put himself between them and the thing that would hurt them. Whether that constitutes instinct or something more is a question the story does not resolve. It simply leaves it there, in the dark, in the rain, on a hillside in Hong Kong. For 59 years, no one gave Gander a medal. His story lived only in the memories of the men he saved, aging veterans of the Royal Rifles of Canada who carried what happened at Lai Mun for the rest of their lives. In the year 2000, after a decades-long campaign by those survivors, Gander was posthumously awarded the Dickon Medal. He is the only Newfoundland dog ever to receive it. The medal exists because of Maria Dickon, who understood in 1943 what the rest of the world is still absorbing, that valor is not a species. It is an action. What these animals did extended well beyond the war itself. In the rubble of the London Blitz, an untrained stray mutt named Rip began digging. No one taught him. He simply started pulling at collapsed brick and plaster, sniffing, scratching, barking. When he found someone still breathing, he located over 100 buried survivors. Military observers studied his methods, how he worked a debris field, how he signaled a find, and those methods became the foundation of every modern search and rescue dog program in the world. Every dog that digs through earthquake rubble today is running Rip's playbook. Smokey's hospital rounds in the Pacific predated formal animal-assisted therapy by decades. She did not know she was establishing a discipline. She simply lay next to broken men who needed to touch something alive. The Dickon Medal, once a small brass disc given to pigeons and dogs, permanently changed the legal and cultural status of animals in military service. It stated, on the record, that what they did mattered, that it counted. None of these animals volunteered. None of them understood geopolitics or ideology. A bear carried shells because the men who fed him needed help. A dog charged a pillbox because his handler was behind it. A terrier crawled through a pipe because she heard her owner's voice on the other side. They did not fight for a country. They fought for the people standing next to them. In Edinburgh, in Prince's Street Gardens, there is a bronze statue of a bear carrying an artillery shell. He is walking forward, mid-stride, into a battle that ended 80 years ago. The sculptor gave him a calm expression, not fierce, not frightened, steady, as if the work still needs doing, as if the men are still waiting.